Halfway through the store, Brandon stopped dead in his tracks and sniffed the air. A scent he had never picked up before enveloped him, making him lightheaded. Anise and maple. How strange. Maybe they're baking something. Mate. Brandon startled, not expecting to hear from his inner moose in such a human-centric place. What? That's what our mate smells like. Find him. Brandon seriously doubted he'd spot a moose in the frozen food aisle, or even a moose shifter. Still, the scent captivated him and stirred a hunger deep in his groin that had nothing to do with food. He steered into the next aisle, forcing himself to keep a normal walking pace. I can't just run past people and sniff them. That would be weird, even for Fox Hollow. Shopping forgotten, Brandon searched for the elusive, overwhelming scent. He turned down the baking aisle, and the aroma called to him, far stronger. Only 2 people were nearby, Mrs. Prindicott, an utterly psychic, and a handsome stranger. The stranger looked vaguely puzzled, like he couldn't find what he wanted on the tightly packed shelves. The store overstocked during the bad weather months, especially if there was news of a storm in the offing. That sometimes made it difficult to locate items. Brandon stayed back, despite the pull he felt to make the man's acquaintance. The handsome man stood a few inches shorter than Brandon's 6'4", with spiked dark blonde hair and a defined jawline. He didn't look like he was from around here. The expensive blue parka was good quality, but not hard used, and his insulated boots looked new. His pockets bulged with heavy gloves that peeked from the opening, and a gray scarf wrapped around the man's neck. Brandon reminded himself not to stare, although between the overwhelming scent and the stranger's good looks, restraining himself took effort. He did his best to lock down his telepathy, even though everything in him wanted to know more about this man. Brandon permitted himself a superficial sweep, nothing that would dig into secrets or private information, the psychic equivalent of sizing up someone's mood by looking for nonverbal cues. He's a little off his game in a new place, nervous, understandable, worried, maybe even scared. Not shifter, human, silent. To Brandon's surprise, he couldn't read anything else. The man's mind was closed off. Telepathically immune? I've heard of that, but they're rare. Never thought I'd meet one. Brandon felt a protective surge of emotion that surprised him. Whatever made the stranger fearful brought up a primal defensiveness that Brandon had never felt before. In moose form, he would have lowered his head, shaken his antlers, and bellowed. With no visible threat, there wasn't much Brandon could do. No one in the aisle seemed to be paying the stranger any attention, and since Brandon knew all the people from town, he didn't think they were the source of the man's uneasiness. Feel that? It's because he's our mate. We haven't even met him, and human-shifter bonds aren't common. They aren't unknown either, and he's a catch. A guy that handsome, I can handle it if he doesn't grow antlers.